You're listening to the Secure Dad Podcast. Discover ways to secure your home, protect your family, and embrace your role as a protector parent. Welcome, friend. I'm Andy Murphy, the creator of the Secure Dad. This podcast serves to help families become proactive in their safety. The information I share on this podcast is for general information purposes only. My goal is to empower you to make safer decisions for yourself and your family, because our safety is our own responsibility. Today we're talking about managing your money in a time of crisis. We'll go over what we need to consider having on hand during an emergency and what we can do to be ready before danger strikes. All of that and more ahead on the Secure Dad Podcast. I Googled myself a few years back and I was shocked at the personal information I found about me. That information could have been used for scams or even for someone to find and hurt me, and I found that unsettling. For a long time, I didn't know there was anything that you could do about it until I found Delete Me. I've been a happy customer of theirs since 2018, and I'm proud to be partnered with them today. If you want to get your personal information removed from search sites, go to joindeleteme.com/dad. They're offering 20% off their privacy plans to everyone listening with the code DAD. And in complete transparency, on my last report, Delete Me found my information on 14 different sites and removed it all. It was 76 different pieces of my personal information that they found and deleted. They continuously scan these sketchy people search sites for me so that I don't have to do a thing. See why I find Delete Me essential to my privacy at joindeleteme.com/dad and use the promo code DAD to get 20% off today. I've had a few people ask me for a while now to cover financial preparedness for emergencies, and I've always been hesitant to do it because I don't have my finances in perfect shape. Not at all. I'm not Scrooge McDucking it in my personal vault. But as I researched this topic, I realized that we don't have to be perfect to be ready for an emergency, just like everything else that I talk about. And also understand that I'm not judging anybody for their financial situation, just like with home security. Everyone's situation is unique, and we need to do what we can to prepare in a way that works for our family. So, like Scrooge McDuck, let's dive in. Financial emergency preparedness is having money on hand that will buy our way out of trouble. Ed Calderon has said for a long time, money solves problems. And he's right. In an emergency, we're going to have problems that require some sort of payment. We may need to pay to get a tree off of our roof, buy gas, or get a hotel room. For the purposes of this show, we're not going to be talking about world financial collapse. This is more for weather disasters, wildfires, and blackouts. Temporary things that we're seeing happening every single week across the country. I will say that I shared something from Dave Ramsey a couple of weeks ago now where he was talking about, do people need to buy gold or silver to trade in the event of some sort of financial collapse in America? He just said, you need to invest in bullets and bottled water because that's where we're going to be. So I'll just quote that from Dave Ramsey there and we'll move on to what we're talking about. So I'm going to talk about 6 things that we can all do to be ready financially for a disaster. First, let's have some cash on hand in our homes ready to go. In a temporary emergency like a hurricane, cash is going to be king. I suggest you have in your home no less than $100 in small bills to pay for your emergency needs. This way you're not flashing $100 bills to make yourself a target for a robbery. You can negotiate your price and then pay with close to exact change. So, stock 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s. Put this money in your go bag so you don't have to worry about, accidentally forgetting it or spending it. Don't go broke having cash on hand. Maybe you set up a jar in the house and dump all of your small bills in it at the end of the week. You don't have to produce all this money at once. Just get it on hand as quickly as your budget will allow. Now, let's make use of mobile money as well. By this, I mean online banking with your institution, PayPal, or some other cash exchange app. This way you can continue to pay your bills and move money around as you need. No one is going to take a check in an emergency unless you're dealing with a business. Having digital access to pay to solve your problems will be essential, assuming that you do have a data connection. That's why I say cash is king. You don't want to solely rely on digital payment, but if you can use it to save your emergency cash, then that's a smart idea. And I am going to bring up Dave Ramsey one more time in this show. We all need to have an emergency savings account, disaster or not. This can cover home repairs, car repairs, and any sort of other unexpected expenses. Dave recommends you start with $1,000 and you build from there. I found a stat that said 6 in 10 Americans can't cover an unexpected cost of $1,000. No judgment here if you see yourself in that stat. At one point, I know that I did. Work on saving some money so that a disaster doesn't crash your financial situation. Prepare today when the sun is shining so that when the storm hits, you are ready to go. The next one I would have never considered for emergency financial preparedness, but it makes sense, and when I was doing the research on this topic kept coming up, and that is review your insurance coverage. Be sure that your home, property, and cars are adequately covered in the event of a disaster. Call and schedule a review with your agent and ask them what's covered and what's not. If you've always wondered, now's the time to find out. As a general rule, never assume that you're covered. Make your insurance company prove that they cover it. This year, I actually called an insurance broker that I trust, and I asked them to shop around my coverage to see if there was a better option. By doing this, you might save some money month to month and get better protection. So don't forget about your insurance because in the event of a natural disaster, you're most likely going to need it. Now, many people will tell you that you have to have copies of important documents on hand in your go bag. I'm honestly on the fence about this one, and I want you to think about this one too. While yes, I do see the importance of being able to prove your home ownership, your living will, your Social Security, or even your car ownership, it makes me a little nervous putting all of that into your go bag. If your bag gets stolen or lost during some sort of an escape, that's a lot of vital information that is no longer in your possession, or worse, is now in the possession of someone with bad intent. So, my take on this is to upload digital copies to a secure online database. When thinking about a company that did all this, I started thinking about, well, do I trust Google? Is it Dropbox? What do I want to do? Of course, if you have access to those things, that is certainly better than nothing. But I did reach out to Josh Summers of All Things Secured and ask him about a safe digital storage solution. He came back with an impressive app called For Privacy. Now, I don't have personal experience with it, but For Privacy lets you store and share your important documentation and a whole lot more. If you're interested in researching it, search for Privacy in your app store. That's the number 4 and the word privacy. So that's the one that Josh likes, and I respect Josh's opinion, so start your research there. The last tip I have is to take a look at your everyday expenses and know where your money is going. The better your finances are on a calm day, the better off you'll be when the chaos starts. To get started, look at your monthly expenses and see if there's any debt that you can pay down, unsubscribe from any unused memberships, and make the most of your food budget. Ask yourself if you really need to have 4 streaming services. Make a commitment to packing your lunch every day to save some money, and do your best to build up that emergency fund. Taking a hard look where your money is going will help you set priorities and focus on your family's prosperity, emergency or not. As we wrap up, it's important to understand that when a disaster strikes us personally, the world keeps turning. While a tornado may prevent us from going to work, bills still have to be paid. Your landlord will hopefully be understanding of your situation, but at some point, they're going to need their money because they have to pay their own bills. So in a crisis, once you know that you are safe and you see that this is going to take a while to recover from, you need to get on the phone with your creditors. That means you need to explain your situation to your auto loan company, mortgage company, mobile provider, and utility companies, just to name a few. Many companies will work with you to negotiate a later payment, but you have to be upfront with them first. The more warning you give them, the more likely they will be to help you out in a time of crisis. I wish I could tell you that you will never have to use these financial preparations, But with storms, wildfires, train derailments, and intentional blackouts happening seemingly every week, chances are you're going to be relying on this sooner than you think. So get ready today to be prepared for tomorrow. Well, that's everything that I have for the Secure Dad podcast for today. Thank you, friend, for listening. See why I find Delete Me essential to my privacy at joindeleteme.com/dad and use promo code DAD to get 20% off today. There's a link in the show notes if you want to sign up now. Next week, we're going to be talking about more emergency preparedness with the owner of Damascus Medical. He's going to join me to talk about family emergency medicine. We have an absolutely fantastic discussion. I'm Andy Murphy, reminding you that our safety is our own responsibility.